come back around.
All right, guys, we're live.
Sweet. What's going
So
on?
let's see what happens.
We're live.
We are
Oh yeah,
live.
nice. Okay,
Oh, dope.
I'm just gonna.
so
Anyway, for those watching this, we're just this is the first time we're checking out this live function, and we are going to talk about some real things related to health, politics, and what have you. We're just going to do a little bit of checking to make sure that we are actually live streaming.
Yeah, we
So
are. We're good. We're good to go.
let me just
Can you hear me?
awesome.
check here.
I can hear you.
Swag.
Hold on.
So
Welcome
I'm
to our
just
live
gonna
show.
start.
Yeah, it's live streaming here. I
Yeah,
can see
welcome
it.
to our live show. Awesome.
Can you see it
So,
too?
I can see it on the X account. Hello, everybody.
Yes, me too.
I don't know how we keep up with the. I'll just repost.
Forget it's like 7 o'clock over in your guys' neck of the woods.
Yeah.
It's 9:15.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I'm not so good in the evening anymore. I'm more of a morning person these days. But let
Same.
me just check again here.
Yeah, I'm a super loser, man. I went to bed at like 9 o'clock yesterday.
Okay.
Welcome to our live show. Ah,
Right. So, I'm just going to start by talking about some of the latest news in the UK, which is it looks like the attack on farmers has actually begun. So it's not too much of a surprise to most people with their eyes open. And there's so basically what the issue is at the moment is people are a bit annoyed about the inheritance tax. So initially, what the inheritance tax was, that it is that farmers and their farms and assets, if they hand things down through the generations as you would being a farmer, um, you would not get taxed on any of the assets, including the property. Um, but what they're sort of proposing is a cap on £1 million worth of assets. So, and everybody correct me if I'm wrong, but my assumption is assets are assets, and assets include machinery. So that quickly ramps up, ramps up, and a lot of the farmers I know around me, their properties would be worth way more than £1 million, without even mentioning the the machinery to go alongside everything. So they'll get 1 million tax free, and then it will go to 20% of anything over that 1 million. So um, the reason that that's not great for farmers is the fact that um, so you've got things like uh, the fact that um, the fact that so that, like, with the trade deals between from Brexit, we're allowed to ship in beef and lamb from New Zealand and Australia, but we're not allowed to send beef to Australia. So it's a bit of a one-sided deal.
fantastic
Um,
deal. Yeah.
the push, yeah, the push towards net zero, which is trying to, you just imagine the amount of diesel and fossil fuels that the guys get through to put food on our tables is quite is a load. So how are you going to transition things like that? You shouldn't do it through government agencies and agendas. You should do it through technical innovation. So let capitalism do its job there, and before you know it, there'll be electric tractors, etc. But all that does in the meantime is decrease the quality of life for everybody in the UK, because it's going to put the price of food up. It's going to restrict the amount of food which is going on our tables as well. Probably because if you're going to have farmers um, having to sell parts of their farm, and there's a two-sided coin there, you'll either have to be more efficient with the land you have, or farms will just become less efficient. Um, and the main thing is like food security. If they're pushing towards having solar panels instead of crops and food for people and agriculture in general, we're going to have to ship in more food from Europe and all over the world. So that's a bit of a concern. The only other side to this story, because we've tried to keep it as neutral as we can, but some of the super rich do like to buy farms so they avoid paying tax, inheritance tax, basically. So that could be one of the reasons why farmland has gone up in value about 4x since the inheritance tax came into fruition. I think it was in 84 or 94. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah.
There's a big land
So
grab
what are your
happening.
thoughts? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's obviously gonna impact farming in a very negative way in the UK. So that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And
And just the sheer amount of force that's putting on farmers. If you've got a farm that's been handed down through the generations, and all of a sudden you've got to, because they're running on thin margins as it is.
I remember back from the was it a year ago or when was it? There was some statistics showing from the UK, which was showing that the all the price increases that were said to be due to COVID, they were in fact all of that margin was just margin for the retailers, and the farmers did not get paid any more for meat, eggs, or anything.
Okay.
So
Well,
you're kind of it seems like
feed. Yeah.
it seems like you are in the being the farmer seems to be the let's say economically unfortunate place to be in that supply chain or value chain rather.
So wait, so Remy,
It does
just take
definitely feel that way.
Take it from the top now, James. So wait, so there's the inheritance tax is being affected, and this is really going to affect small.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
So any farmers, basically, yeah. So they go from being tax free when it comes to So say if you died and you wanted to leave your children your farm, your father would have not. You wouldn't have had to pay any inheritance tax, but your children will have to now. So if you have a property which is X amount of money, you're going to have to pay basically 20% of the value of all of your property and assets over the price of 1 million. And I don't know what the average price of a farm is, but it's well over 1 million in the UK. But it's around where I am anyway. And the issue is the fact that they're running on such thin margins as it is. So I don't know many farmers that would be able to pull 800 grand out of their ass or 100 grand out of their ass.
Well, think of the pressure that puts on them as well, where it's like, do I want to just sell this land and turn a profit, or do I want to try to meet thin margins?
Yeah, it seems like it seems like a bit of a land grab thing, actually. Yeah. Could it be?
That's probably what it is. Yeah, we've watched that happen in the US, in Canada over the last couple of years. We've watched it happen. Was it the Danish farmers that they hit really hard over the last few years? Was it Danish?
Yeah, but Dutch, Holland.
The Dutch,
Netherlands.
That's it. Yeah, and I think they ended up having some settlement, which was, this is because bribery is illegal, and from my knowledge, they basically said, we'll pay you 20% over the market value for your farm. This is not a bribe.
You see,
so Denmark, if the government says it, then we can, have a look, Goody. It will shock you.
I saw Denmark just passed a flatulence tax, so they're taxing the farmers for livestock emissions. But I haven't looked into the specifics. That's just what the headlines say.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2030? I don't know. It's not an immediate one, so maybe if we're active, we can make it not happen. It's completely ridiculous with that. I mean, cows are carbon neutral, and so are other
within 12
other animals
years
as well.
Cows are carbon neutral. So what are they going to do? Are they going to pay back? Are they going to rebate you the tax after 12 years when
Yeah,
the
obviously
farts
not.
no
Of
longer
course,
matter.
of course,
Well, there
of
you
course
go.
not. Yeah.
But don't all
Yeah.
creatures create carbon dioxide? Or am I tripping?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate because I'm trying to make
All
sense of the
mammals.
argument and apply it to other instances. It's like you're going to tax a cow because
Yeah,
it
but
has emissions.
by the same logic, you should then also maybe outlaw people.
Or cars.
Yeah, especially vegans. You have to put a vegan tax.
Yeah, I mean vegans emit much more carbon dioxide than carnivores.
And methane.
I'm not even joking.
Mm.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
the whole
So
environmental
this is obviously the
thing.
beginning.
It's a little freaky.
Yeah, what do you guys think? What's your perspective on this now? Do we have a? I kind of felt very positive and somehow encouraged to think that we have a fighting chance to make much of this complete nonsense go away, which seems to be somewhat, maybe not global, but at least international, at least in the so-called Western countries, with all the lies and the bullshit and manipulation and all of that. But what do you think? Is it gonna? Do we have a chance?
I'm feeling hopeful.
You guys
I'm
protest all
feeling
the time
hopeful
in
at this point.
the UK.
Yeah. I think we do. Not enough, maybe. I think I'm feeling hopeful about everything, especially if we can carry on this movement, like the hero movement, and get, we've got so many fascinating and amazing brains in the community. Getting people like Ed on and getting people that Ed knows and suggests we can talk to those guys and hear the facts from the farm themselves. What are we doing wrong? How do we fix things, and how do we prove it to be effective against what we're being told to do by the government? Because
Yes.
obviously there's this selective statistical tomfoolery is absurd. It's absurd how
Well, I mean,
they change and manipulate statistics.
We all, I mean, the reason we're sitting here is because we have some quite amazing and significant health stories or health improvement stories, and there are thousands in our community here on X who have the same experience by doing more or less the opposite of what dietary guidelines say. So more or less the opposite of what the government, the mainstream media tells us is the right thing to do. We manage to regain our health and come off all kinds of medications, and have higher quality of life, spend less money on food, etc. And so we have even if the carbon footprint is a load of bollocks, we even have a smaller carbon footprint than we had before, because we spend less, we use more efficient foods, and we're not sick as much. And this should be somehow this must be, we must be able to turn this into some common sense. I'm not suggesting that everybody in the world should become a carnivore or go super low carb or anything, but there must be some kind of sense to get out of this satanic situation that we're in. Sorry, getting emotional.
Yeah. But I think this is a time where we should start becoming emotional about it, because we've all hoped for the best over the last few years, and all we've seen is further efforts to push the agendas that are nonsensical.
You have to stand up to, it's a little bit like standing up to your, at some point you need to stand up to your mother, you need to stand up to your wife, you need to stand up to your girlfriend, whatever, You try to placate, but it's not going to end well, is it?
No.
And this is the same. Enough of the bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah, I've been
um,
listening too much.
I'm
I've been listening to
just
too much Jesse Lee Peterson lately. That's why.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he's in
that's but
America,
that
isn't he?
that is the yeah, that is the reason why I'm feeling so hopeful about the future of America now. And like we've said, what's usually happens in Europe is what happens in America spills out into the rest of the world. So if America can get some common sense back and improve, then things should go well.
what do you think? I mean, you're the man on the ground, Goody. You represent all of the U.S. So
Yeah, I'm in Chicago. I'm right in the industrial city, right?
so what's the word on the ground? What's going on? Is yeah, tell us
Uh,
about it.
I would say like at a very high level, like this is not. I haven't like researched it very deeply. I don't think this is a top of mind concern for a lot of American people. Politically, it seems a lot more affiliated with right wing politicians, like within our
Mhm.
House of Representatives and whatnot. Um, most people that are low carb and carnivore that I come across tend to be either third party or conservative. And what I'm getting at is, I think if you genuinely want to solve an issue like this, you need to make it a working class issue and not just a one party, one sided issue. So I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
the challenge is how do you take
Mhm.
left wing minded people and get them on board with this type of concept, because that the government's going to do what they want to do. They're the biggest entity, they have the biggest army, they have the most money, you know what I'm saying? So like we have to control the narrative as a working class and not make it a political thing. And I don't think that's to the blame of the Republicans. That's more left-wing people with their different perspective on food and
Yeah,
animal rights.
why do they lie so much? Why can't why is the truth? The truth seems like garlic to a vampire for these people. Why
It's
is that?
I,
I just can't get my head around it.
I think a lot of it is like rhetoric stealing. So like they're not necessarily telling you what to think about. People come up with a rhetoric and a narrative, and then the government, or not the government, but like whoever, mainstream media or whoever, is then taking that rhetoric and spinning it to make you think about it in a certain type of way. So I think like in America, it's very polarized for politics. So people on the left wing and people on the right, they both have their own little echo chambers. And so like if you talk to a left
Hmm.
wing person, they're just fed complete bullshit on
Yeah.
food and stuff. It's kind of weird, like because I'm from a pretty liberal area, so like you're not going to meet many low carbers from where I'm from.
What do you think about the general? What's the general feeling with Trump and his team and not necessarily limited to foods, but all their policies? Is there a feeling that are they gonna make it, or is it gonna be like last time when he, lots of promises, but then most of it was watered down or didn't happen?
It's a good question. Well, first off, I'll say like I grew up in Minnesota and now I'm in Chicago, so like very traditional. Like I grew up like 20 minutes northwest of Minneapolis, so right in the
Yeah.
suburbs. Very traditionally blue, very traditionally liberal. Chicago is a very liberal city, and like if you compare to like 2016 when it was Hillary Clinton, there's a lot more support for someone like Donald Trump. And but it's still very polarized. You don't really have people that are like stuck on who to support. Like people are pretty content.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
think
it
people just
seemed
want change.
that's what it looks like from over here as well.
But yeah. But to answer your question specifically, like honestly, man, like the propaganda machine's super strong. So like I kind of am a little bit concerned that like
Hmm.
people are just going to believe what they're fed. But I think people
I
just
think
want
they're losing
change.
control.
I hope
Mm.
people just want change at this point. Like it doesn't matter who it is. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
I mean, I've been over the election and a few days after. I'd watch a few live streams from like Sky News or CNBC, etc. And it was like they were in a state of mourning, like they'd just lost someone very dear to them.
Yeah, dude,
And it showed how biased they were.
yeah, it's weird, man.
And they were like, I don't know what we can do next time. And it's like, what do you mean, what you can do? You should be neutral. You should just report. You shouldn't be trying to force feed ideas in someone's brain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising that they are as open about their incredible bias as they are. Which is by the way,
Crazy.
that my perspective on that, my historical perspective on that is the big change. The big change that I felt that I noticed was when George W. Bush became
Endorsed.
president.
Oh,
From the beginning of his presidency, or maybe from when before the elections, before he won the election, or whatever it was, the mainstream media was, from my point of view, completely incredible, and not. I was just wondering what the hell is going on. Everybody is doing talking points for what he says, including CNN back then. And
That's
since
super
then,
interesting.
it's been this. It's been everybody is saying the same thing, using even the same scripts, the same words, on different competing channels, which is just crazy, and very open. Whereas in Europe, it's a little bit less open. Of course, over here, from an American perspective, everybody, all parties, is the same socialist Democratic Party. So we don't really have
Is that just
a
a little bit more
Republican
belief?
equivalent.
You got a little bit more
Sorry.
belief in the system. Is that why most people are the same thing over that way, or what's the reason for that, you think?
Well, it's just captured in a different way, I suppose. It's the political structures are probably much older, and I think even though we are told, and we've been taught in school, and that we've believed that we have democracies and all of that, it seems to me, with my red pill perspective, based on my food choice red pill experience, it seems to me that what's going on, because I can't really reconcile the facts, decisions, the policies with things that are being said, neither short nor long term. I'm not saying that everything is bad or wrong, but I just can't. There isn't. I don't see a connect between what I would say is the will of the people and the policies that are realized, which leads me to think that something else is going on, and so whether it's on a country basis or an EU basis or whatever basis it is, there's clearly a group, or several groups, which are working together. I like to call them the insiders, and these are people, we meet them in industry as well. People where you are in situations where you know what's right to do. If you run a company or if you run a subsidiary like I have, you need to do this and that and whatever. And suddenly it becomes clear, without anybody telling you, that no, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is something completely different. And by the way, you, Klaus, are going to be responsible for it if it's a fuck up, even though you wanted to do something completely different. And that's when the people with the real power, they come in and realize their objectives. And my feeling is the same going on in politics. But because I'm not an insider, I can't really judge what is the level, where, what is a national level kind of insider thing and what is an international and potentially a global level insider thing. On the other hand,
We have two European guys. This is one thing I've been curious to ask is, how, when did you, so you say like you noticed something felt weird around the George Bush election, which is, I wish I was around for that one. I think I was like 2 or 3 years old, but it seems like a fishy one. But when did you guys start getting interested in American politics? Like similar to how you are now?
I think for me, it was seeing how corrupt the Biden-Harris administration was in 2021, because the thing which made me think something is amazingly wrong is when they held the EV summit and they got the leader of General Motors up there and said, her name's Mary Barra. They said, Joe Biden said, Mary, you've transformed the entire automobile industry. You've led, and it matters. They didn't say the word Tesla once. Elon
Crazy.
was obviously not invited, and they
No.
produced 16 electric vehicles that month, or that quarter. So in 4 months, they produced 16 electric vehicles, and Tesla produced something like 160,000.
Yeah, completely nuts.
So something was wrong,
Who's
basically.
this Bora lady? Is she like a
Mary Barra, she was the
Mary
CEO
Barra.
of GM.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
My bad.
she's
Oh,
the CEO of GM. Yeah. But
Pockets
you
paid,
can
boy.
watch it. You can look at you can just look at the political donations, and you know when we were talking about the what they called the unions, the automotive unions, and how some of the leaders of the unions are corrupt. They've got like multi-million-dollar houses, and they're saying, "I'm on your side," and all they end up doing is putting those people out of a job because they demand sky-high wages. I think they demanded like $120,000 a year, and then what they ended up happening is they shut the factories. So your little pay increase is actually turned into 100% pay decrease by getting the sack.
Wow.
So some things don't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a quick comment on the unions and industry. I've run several companies with unionized people. I'm going to call it labor because some of them are working in the factory and some are not. But anyway, unionized workforce. And one of the closest people that you work with as a CEO of a company like that is either one or several union representatives, but typically it's one person who has the most say. So you'd spend, or in my case, I'd spend a good amount of time working with these people, and they are, without exception, in my experience, they've been incredibly pragmatic from a point of view of the company, incredibly pragmatic, and it has been much more easy to get, let's say, difficult decisions carried out. Turnaround situations, in economically difficult situations. So while I wouldn't say that the unions are on the side of the company, but they are on the side of doing what keeps the companies alive, and that is very often not necessarily what is best for the unionized people in the short term. Maybe
so that maybe the unions in Europe may be more compassionate and true to being an actual union than what they are in America, possibly.
Yeah, I think my point was not necessarily that. But it does seem to me that the level of corruption on a personal level seems to be a little bit different in the US than it is in Europe. For sure, if you're a union leader over here, you probably get a good salary, but nothing completely nuts, and nothing with mansions and that kind of stuff. But of course, you can always, if you do a good job as a union leader, you typically have a good chance of getting to ministerial positions in after the election, stuff like that. So you will be padded and you will be comfortable. So if there are any young people listening, yeah, I strongly encourage you to go into politics and unions and all that kind of stuff if you want to have a secure and safe future. And it doesn't matter if you get elected or not. If you're part of the system, they'll find a good, cushy spot for you. And I doubt that's going to change.
Well, yeah, you can change the system. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe by the time anyone young is in one of those positions, the world is a different place and corruption is not as prevalent as it is today.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about AI. If can AI make itself autonomous to a degree which can affect these things? I think it could, but I seriously doubt it's going to be any that the powers that be are going to let it. I seriously doubt it. I think that would be an AI which is out of control.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to law, it's important to have a neutral AI rather than one created by Microsoft or OpenAI and Bard.
Well,
basically, yeah, I think it would be better to have Grok, maybe.
Yeah,
why Grok over the other ones?
That's another thing.
It's less bias as a rule of thumb.
James, I don't want to be a spoilsport, and I don't think I am a spoilsport. I'm a pretty positive, optimistic type of person, and I do have endless admiration for Elon and his achievements.
I'm ready.
But I do. My working assumption is that he is also a human, and not neither a god nor a saint. You can always hope.
I think he thinks he is, though.
Yeah, well, I think that might be a good thing.
He is, yeah,
that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? If he thinks he's a saint, he's going to try to behave like a saint. Yes?
I hope.
I'll tell you what, though, what I have sort of realised with Grok is it's obviously less biased than the data and prompts or rules that have been put into Bard and into Chat GPT, but there's still quite a lot of things on Grok where it's not as neutral as you would assume it to be. That still some of it is quite left-leaning. I don't know if it's an issue with my prompts or if I'm just too blunt with the AI.
I think it's an issue of the material. The learning material. I don't know what to call it, but the what has it had access to and what has it been fed, and I'm guessing that Grok has access to the internet at large to some extent or to a big extent. And if that's the case, then it means that it's tremendously influenced by Google, and which means that it will be extremely biased and extremely filtered and highly problematic from that point of view. So I don't know how to I'm not very smart, so I know how, and I know nothing about AI, so I don't know how they can what they can do to train it to become actually more neutral. I think the interesting thing I find with ChatGPT, which is the one I use the most, is that you can kind of beat it into submission from time to time if you're insistent and if you put your words right.
Sometimes I'll copy the question and I'll ask it in like 4 different search engines just to see if the answers are like nuanced or if they use different sources and stuff, and then try to use like best judgment which one makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think one of the problems I have with ChatGPT is that it's it sometimes tries to flood me with words, and then I kind of get. That's when I start whipping it into submission because it
Yeah.
tries to
Especially
explain.
the prompts,
Yeah, go ahead.
especially when it has to explain itself after every prompt. It's like, but I'm still in training and I'm not too clever. So please tell me when I'm wrong.
Yeah,
It's
I
on
mean,
my
the
tits.
blatant lying is another issue
Mm.
as well. But
I just had such a cynical joke.
but it's interesting. You know, if you put the energy into it, it can often it is often extremely impressive to me what it can deliver. But of course, then there's the issue of if you're looking for some scientific stuff, you have to be very careful because it just tells you bullshit. It gives you bullshit references. So
Well, if you want to manipulate it for like nutritional advice, at least for like a carnivore perspective, sometimes like if I have a question that I want to ask ChatGPT or whatever, I use Perplexity AI sometimes. Instead of asking it,
Yeah, I've
for,
heard
like,
of that one.
it's decent. But like I'll instead of saying like I'll frame the question to be like, do carnivores in nature, deal with this, or can they do this? Like if I'm curious, and I just apply the logic to myself, it seems to give a lot more scientific, reasonably. I'm fucking a jambalaya of words right now, but the explanation you just make more sense than if you like try to get the human perspective.
yes.
But
Yeah.
I'll also say that some of these like AI generator things, like these chats, like some of them seem less liberal than they were a few months ago. Like some of them seem to say like good things about good things about low carb and good things about ketogenic diets. Carnivore, I think, is still a little taboo, but
Yeah, I don't get any nonsense with keto, carnivore, or low carb anymore from ChatGPT. So it clearly has adjusted at least its responses to me. So it knows, of course, it knows everything that we've ever talked about, which is very practical.
that's what worries me too. Is it telling me what I want to know? That's what I don't know either.
Yeah, well, partly it is. Yeah, partly it is. But you can tell it not to do that as well, and it'll give you a different answer.
So it says.
It probably knows more about you than the person which is closest to you in your life.
Yeah, and over a longer term, it probably knows more about me than I do myself, which is also an interesting. Well, in my case, it's not very interesting, but in principle, it's interesting. So
I think it's interesting because it begs the question of, okay, well, like in a term of values, like how important is it to know every little thing about you or every little thing about something else? Like, what's the fine line of social instincts where it's like, because obviously you would never value a chatbot because it knows more about you than like your brother or your sister or something. But it's just weird.
yeah, it's a good and it's a good question. What is it that it knows? What is it able to? Because of course, if a person knows what the person knows about you, that is colored by that person, and the reactions and responses will be not just related to what the person knows about you, but what they feel about what you and what they know about you and about themselves and everything. So that I think that's going to be, I don't know. It just seems to me that's going to be difficult to capture, and something which for slightly sensitive people, it's going to be quite. It's going to be possible to see if it's AI or a person that you're talking to.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think that's true. I think it's definitely true within the early days. I think once that LLM is implanted into a humanoid robot that you have in your house, I think that's when the lines are going to become very blurred. So, like, you can just imagine if you've got a full-size humanoid robot in your house and you're just talking to it throughout the day, you will start to build a relationship with this robot. Like it will be your own C3PO.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, like a dog.
If you like, I just had this thought this morning, as simple I thought. I was just thinking, it's like, I could get a dog just to make myself feel better. But like what you're talking about is like, what's the fucking difference? But there is, I see a difference at least. But I
Mm.
mean, at comparison, like it's the same concept.
I think with a dog, you never know what they're going to do, and they're great fun. I say great fun. They could tear your house to pieces, and you'll be like, "Well, I've got a dog. What do I expect?" But then with a robot, there'd be that sort of the unknown would be removed unless you prompt it to be spontaneous. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you could ask it for a pizza for dinner, and it will end up giving you a macaroni and cheese or something like that. And you're like, oh, but I asked for a fucking pizza. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that would get so annoying.
And then it would annoy you.
Yeah. Yeah, that would piss me
I
off.
just don't know. But I think once it's in the home, then it's gonna know everything about you, regardless.
Can you imagine a fucking AI robot that just has like infinite like cookbooks in its mind, and it can just like, yo, give me a filet mignon with like whatever seasonal,
Yeah.
give me a fall season vibe, dude. Surprise me. It's like fuck. It's crazy. I
Mm.
saw a video of a AI robot from Google playing a game of ping pong. Very high level, but fascinating.
Mm.
Not to bring up a competitor.
It's all interesting. Yeah. It is a competitor when it comes to the AI side of it, like the mind. But they don't have the real world data like the imagery or like video to train on to make it interact with the world.
So what is this robot gonna is it gonna then it's gonna serve you some fake meat and claim that it's meat,
Yeah, probably.
and you might not even notice.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like, what if you're a vegan and it's like you
Mm.
say you save this many emissions with this meal, or like there's just so much shit you can do with it. That's the pitch, but it's
Goody
honestly
wants to feed vegans meat.
no. To each their own. If you want to eat,
Yeah.
beans
Just a
and
different thought. A different thought from what you said earlier about your CO2 emissions from buying from a supermarket. I think was one of your points the fact that if you go to the supermarket and you just buy the meat and you're not buying the crisps, you're not buying the vegetables, you're not buying cereal, etc. If you think of the supply chain and where the other foods, the accessory foods have had to come from, that's going to be increasing your carbon footprint. Whereas if you just get the meat, you've restricted your carbon footprint because it's made one journey or two or three.
Exactly, and of course the meat itself is carbon neutral.
well, everything should just be local, like
Yes.
well, so much of our meat is from New Zealand and Australia, which, it tastes great. I like it, but like I wish it would feel a lot better if I could go to the supermarket and like, like you kind of have to go the extra effort to go and like support a local farmer. And like, if you're a dude like me and you live in a high rise in Chicago, like it's a little bit harder. And I wish like you could just pull up to your, any supermarket and it's like everything is local. Like, why does it have to
Yeah,
be the
it does
special
seem a bit
Mm.
does seem a bit crazy that you have a lot of meat from far away in the States.
It just begs the
But
question of why. It
Yeah.
goes back to the original points of reducing emissions.
Trade
and
deals.
I don't know.
Trade deals.
But
Yeah,
you've heard
that's
Sean
why.
Baker, he says it as well. He's like, well, if you wanna feed the population meat, you need feedlots, which is I don't know how to feel about that, but maybe it's true. It just begs a lot of questions, beyond that.
What do
Yeah,
you mean by feedlots? Just so I know what you're on about.
A feedlot is like putting a bunch of cows in one area, probably more than a regenerative farm would recommend, and then you're giving them the food, manually instead of them grazing. So, like in Iowa, you could pull up to a place and like you think of like a 30 by 30-yard square, could have 6 cows in that. Think of like a mud.
Oh, so they're just sat there and then they feed them corn and
Yeah, and
soy and other things.
I know some people like have talked about like more evolved versions of feedlots, and I support that, and I'm all with that. But the ones that I experienced in Iowa, at least, were very like old school. Like they're in like mud and dirt all day and fed corn. And like if you talk to a farmer, like they take the most pride in like having the fattest, most marbling on their steaks. It's all cool. Like you see people posted it like as well online. Like, do you want a fattier cut or do you want this and that? But I think it comes back to like the ethics and then also just the long term play. Like, how does this affect soil over a long period of time?
Sure. I think my point was just that the U.S. is a rather large piece of land,
Yeah, U.S. and
and
Canada.
I think there is enough land.
Mm.
There's more than enough land to produce all the meat that is needed in the U.S. On that land.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think about too is like, how does this? I don't want there to be a big attack on, the cattle industry. I mean, if you want to attack anybody, like go after like chicken and pork, and like think about how many fast food restaurants or how many packaged goods are selling like, chicken nuggets or chicken strips. Like that's fucking everywhere. Like start there, if anything.
Yeah, are you even sure it's chicken?
Yeah, who even knows anymore? I've had Culver's before, and people are like, "Is this even chicken?" I'm like, "I don't care. It tastes good." But it's a very if anyone's ever had Culver's, like their chicken tenders are like same thing with McDonald's. I don't know how they all make distinctively different chicken, but they do.
Probably just inject it with saline and spices, surely something like that.
Yeah, man. I think what I actually read about Culver's is what they do is they'll take like a certain cut of chicken and they'll grind it up, and then they'll like it's kind of like a chicken mixture of things. So I don't know. So it's very interesting. They have it down to a science. And I mean, the question of seed oils as well is also like super relevant. And like, where do you put seed oils? Yeah.
Do you think that McDonald's will become more appealing to some low carbers in the future if they bring back the beef tallow that's in the RFK posts?
That would be crazy, but I mean, that would just be fucking crazy. I don't think they would do it.
I think that,
but
it is crazy because I think I saw something, and everyone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they put sugar in their salt in the salt packet. So if you walk past a McDonald's in the future, pick up a little packet of salt and read the ingredients. It's either, I think it might be maltodextrin or dextrose, something like that. But they actually put sugar in the salt, which doesn't make sense.
Dude, I was hoping that in that RFK photo op that he was just gonna have like a fucking stack of burger patties. Like that would have just been the most OG thing ever. But yeah, I don't know. It's supposedly Buffalo Wild Wings cooks in tallow, but I don't. For me, like everything else is not in tallow. So it's like, just hypothetically, what's up, Klaus? Like if let's say RFK makes a mandate and like this is just super high level. Like all of a sudden fast food, they got to start using like tallow for cooking oil. But like, what about the buns? What about everything else?
Yeah.
The chicken breading.
Yeah, that is a question. But I suppose
I don't think that they're going to force anything like that.
I don't know, but the volume of seed oils that you'd get from eating fries is astronomical compared to the volume found in a bread roll.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like, got a cramp. But I've cooked tallow fries with no salt and like made them nice and crispy. Like they taste just as good, man. Taste just as good. But that's why I think I can't say I've truly like done the same thing with like vegetable oil though. But if anyone wants to do it, I would love to hear back.
What was your question? Does it taste better with vegetable oil than tallow, or the other way?
Well, it's kind of just like
we were just.
Well, I was just going to say
talking about if yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say there's all this buzz talk about like seed oils, and you're seeing like almost like backlash. Like, so it's like first you got RFK, and it's just me at a high level. Like he's talking about replacing Coca-Cola with high fructose corn syrup with cane sugar, and like there's backlash for that. And then just another simple thing of like switching seed oils with tallow, and like for some reason people are super defensive of seed oils all of a sudden. And like I know that some seed oils are different in like their production, like where they're sourced from, but it's for a lot of these seed oils, it's just like the cheapest cost, like cheapest, easiest production cost. And like
Yeah, of course.
if you just look at it from a monetary perspective, like how could you think that would be superior to something like a pasture raised butter or tallow or a suet or something? It's just the common sense is out the door. That's where I lose my hope a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, good question. I don't think they're going to regulate anything with anything with seed oils. I think that's not going to happen. But McDonald's might choose to offer tallow, French fries fried in tallow. I think that could happen. So at least in some places.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
I think that's
anyway.
accurate
I'm
because
having
if you
some
look at
connection issues, guys, because we had a.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's related to we had a Chinese ship, which is they suspect that the Chinese collaborating with the Russians sabotaged a sea cable which goes from which connects Finland to the internet. So.
Oh shit.
So maybe that's why. I don't have. I have to get Starlink. So.
God.
Yeah, post about it when you just send me a picture. I'd love to see it. But yeah, I think if you look back at the campaign, the Republican campaign, McDonald's has popped its head up quite a few times. Trump went to the McDonald's and was serving fries to everyone, and then there was a picture on Air Force One, wasn't there, or Trump's plane where they were flying and they were all eating McDonald's.
Right after UC-309.
Yeah, so that's going to be absolute fantastic for McDonald's stock in the future, or it probably did pump it up. I haven't looked at it. So I think if RFK is saying, can you please put some tallow back, I think they'll definitely be looking into it. There's no doubt about it.
They are definitely already looking into it 100%. Anyway, did you? I was laughing at his expression, RFK's expression when he was sitting on the plane with a burger. He was not very chuffed.
I call bullshit. He enjoyed that fucking burger. He loved that one. Anyone would have. There's no way he ate that burger with any regrets. They were just at UFC 309. It was 2:00 in the morning. Like, how are they all so wide awake? Like, you ever talk to a 70-year-old person at like 2, 3 in the morning? Like, they probably had some cocaine as well. If I was to take a wild guess.
Who knows?
I'm not. Whatever. To each their own.
But Trump is he's not 70.
He's like almost 80, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he 80?
He has a phenomenal constitution.
How old is this man?
He does look better this time around than he did last time as well.
Somebody said that he was. I was listening to Joe Rogan, and they said that he had been awake for 72 hours. I don't know who had said it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It just sounded crazy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm definitely not Trump. So sorry, guys. I can't do 72 hours in a row.
All right.
No, I can't.
What should we?
So yeah.
Should we talk about your 5-year anniversary, Klaus?
Yeah, sure. Let's do a few words on that. It's nothing. I think anything beyond a year, then it's pretty much the same. I don't want to make it less.
5-year carnivore anniversary.
Make a less festive feeling on that. I think the biggest challenge is when you start on a carnivore or low carb ketogenic diet, that the biggest challenge is going to be in the first year and a half. And I think I'd say for me, and I think for quite a few people, the biggest challenge isn't even what I would call a physical or one related to leaving out your old favorite foods or anything like that. I think one of the biggest challenges is social pressure, which is not it's not really discussed very much, and it's not. I don't think it's taken that seriously. It's like, come on, they can just. But I think a lot of people who are, maybe less crazy than some of us, and less contrarians than some of us, and I'm a huge contrarian, so I kind of almost feel happy if people tell me that I'm being an idiot if I do it. That just makes me more determined. But I think a lot of people don't think like that, and they don't feel like that. They have a great need to conform and be part, conform to the social structure that they belong to, and having your spouse or your partner or and your relatives, friends, and everybody putting pressure on you in whatever way is the pressure that you feel. I think that's a huge one. They do give up. They give up. It takes about a year, and then they just get tired of it and they leave you alone. So so for those starting out, I'd say prepare to be ridiculed and attacked and what have you, but of course, obviously stick with it because the health benefits are so great. And I think, of course, if you're a younger person, I mean, I'm 59. I started when I was 54, or I was 54 years old when I started, and I'm 59 now. So the health benefits, or let's say the change in your health, is obviously not going to be as big if you're young and relatively healthy, but you can avoid a lot of the problems coming with bad foods and bad habits if you start early, like you two. And then in my case, I had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, medicated, and irritable bowel syndrome for decades up until that point, which was so normal for me that I didn't even think about that.
Were you seeing a doctor for it, or
that potentially being cured? No, I didn't see a doctor for it. So it was kind of I wasn't yet at the stage of having to have my intestines removed like you. So I guess maybe I was eating, kind of, maybe it was balanced in a way that I just had diarrhea all the time, but nothing more serious than that.
That's definitely IBS for sure.
But 40 years of diarrhea, and it just stopped immediately. So so I haven't had diarrhea once in 5 years.
Have you ever been able to hone in on, maybe what specific, was it an accumulation of things causing that, or was there anything in particular you think that was causing you to have looser stools for, that period of time?
Yeah, I think it was a combination, but main suspect, I would say, is probably grains, so wheat. It would be my guess, but I think my thinking on that is that probably I had maybe a slightly inflamed gut, and so it probably could get irritated by a number of different things, and once and I just stopped all carbohydrates. Seed oils I'd cut out for a long time before that already, but so I stopped all carbs.
So
no
you were
alcohol.
Like
alcohol I stopped them. Yeah, I stopped alcohol first, and then the carbs, and so I was basically just eating meat and eggs, cheese. So meat, eggs, and dairy, and so I went into ketosis immediately, immediate ketosis, and that helped. That helped on the gut and everything else.
How did your sort of daily practices change and evolve over that time, over the first year? Was it all at once, or was it structured?
Well, it was. I went for it immediately. So I did everything all at once. So I started, complete dietary change, and time restricted eating. So I started with 16/8 time restricted eating, no snacking. I was never a big snacker anyway, but
How did you gain like
so
all the knowledge? Because it sounds like you were eating pretty healthy before. Like, was there anyone in particular, or like how did you get super strict from the get go?
I did a lot of watching of YouTube presentations by various keto experts, Stephen Finney. So Finney and Volek are kind of two of the grandfathers of nutritional ketosis, and Tim Noakes, Professor Tim Noakes from South Africa, and getting into listening to their presentations and trying to get their knowledge, then automatically you find all the other people who all the physicians and scientists who were into this, and so I built, which I can share with anyone who wants it. So I built a small library of presentations on YouTube from quite a large number of different people on the topic of ketogenic diets, carnivore diets, cholesterol, and all kinds of things related to this way of living. So I was pretty well informed when I started, and that kind of convinced me to go for it. I looked into the vegan lifestyle as well, but you can't, when you look into the kind of the scientific side of it, it's not very convincing. I think it's more of an emotional lifestyle, and since I'm an emotional guy, I have to have a non-emotional lifestyle, as non-emotional as possible, so I can be stable and act in a responsible and good way, have good habits. Yeah, so I went for it, and the one of the big things that I spend a lot of time doing now is exercise, and I didn't do that in the beginning, and I didn't have a plan around exercise. And I think that's one of the reasons why I lost weight so quickly, was because I did not increase exercise or start doing a ton of cardio or other exercise in the beginning. I think it's one of the things which can slow down your weight loss if you increase exercise, because it gives you blood glucose and insulin spikes, even if you eat low carb and only meats. So.
Were you eating dairy at all? Or like, it doesn't seem like you really eat too much dairy nowadays, or is it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, yeah, I eat a little bit of cheese still, but and I probably ate more cheese back then. So, which fit well with having a goal of being in ketosis. Obviously, in the beginning, I had some body fat that I could use for being in ketosis, so I didn't have even if I didn't eat 80% of my calories in fat, I still burned 80% of my calories as fat, because I burned body fat. So yeah, very, very quick weight loss. The 55 pounds I lost in 3 months.
Wow.
I lost half of that in the first 4 weeks, and then the other half took twice as long, but very quick.
Did you target?
And
did you always
crazy,
target
isn't it?
fat as a macro, or were you someone that was like a lot of protein, or yeah?
No, I mean, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I was in ketosis. So I measured. So I did blood glucose measurements from the beginning, and in the beginning I did a finger prick. The same with the ketones.
Wow.
And then I later changed to a continuous glucose monitor from time to time. But I was in deep ketosis within a very, very short period of time. I think the first day within 24 hours, I started really reeking of acetone, and everybody around me was just, go away. You
Sounds
stink.
like it sounds like your body was ready to be in ketosis.
Yeah,
It
my
was
body was
dying to
ready
be in
for sure.
ketosis.
Yeah, and I felt fantastic. So it was great. I felt a little bit dizzy, but that was not an electrolyte issue. I'm happy to tell you, Goody. So not a lack of salt, but because my blood pressure went down within just a few days. As soon as I started losing all that weight, my blood pressure went down, and so after about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, something like that, pretty quickly, I had to stop taking my blood pressure medication, and
Oh, we lost
I
him.
think Klaus cut out again.
Yeah.
That was interesting as well. Oh well, the Chinese have attacked Klaus today.
Yeah, what the heck? I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's obviously not, it hasn't come up on my feeds. But no, so that's one of the questions that I'd like to ask Klaus when he comes back is sort of like, how do you change the sort of healthcare advice when it comes to certain chronic diseases? So like, what piece of dietary advice or lifestyle would we like to see implemented into healthcare? I think this is the important thing, and I think we, as a community, we need to be loud for the next few years. We can't be quiet about this. We need to be going to like US Diabetes Association, Diabetes UK events, and being vocal about what's actually cured diabetes type 2, rather than just taking metformin and carrying on as nothing's happened.
Yeah, right.
Because some of the advice is crazy, but we all know that health can be improved by simply changing a diet, adopting a low carb diet or reduced carbohydrate diet. But I think for me, my biggest, here we go, we've got Klaus back.
Yeah, hi. Let's see for how long.
Yeah. So Klaus, what are the big changes that you'd like to see in healthcare and advice for people diagnosed with certain chronic or metabolic syndrome related health issues?
Well, I think first of all the ketogenic diet and other low carb diets should be options which are offered to the patients. I think there are probably. Yeah, go ahead.
What I was just saying to Goody was, this is time where us as a community should be loud over the next 4 years. We should be deafeningly loud and sort of get out to certain events like Diabetes Association UK or US Diabetes Association, and definitely vocalize out loud in front of people and say, this is what I have achieved, or this is what certain people have achieved, which I know personally on a personal basis, and they've done this through diet, and they don't have to take metformin, they don't have to take all these other medications, because you can simply change your diet.
Yes, I think that's a good target. I think we might have better chance than with the American Diabetes Association. That seems to be a completely captured organization somehow. I don't know, but that's definitely one thing. I think also a lot of when I look at the statistics up here, we have about a third of the population which is officially diagnosed with some level of serious chronic gut issues, and I think a lot of people that I talk to my surprise, seem to have had also more or less constant diarrhea for years and huge stomach problems, and none of them connected with any of the crap that they're eating and all the plants that they're trying to eat and bad oils. So I think they're ketogenic or a low carb and low fiber diet needs to be included somehow as well. I just wish that there were some openness to these things, but at the moment it seems very, very closed here, and it's all run. All of the institutions that we have here are run by plant-based or vegan women. So no men involved in these things. Only cat ladies. So.
Yeah, I think like we were saying, we'd love to sort of host some events in the future and just have a good time, have like a little fair, just get a load of people together. I think there could be a European and then a US based one. So good, you have to get contacting loads of people and see if we can have some fun and spread awareness. So maybe it'd be something to bring the family along to, the reluctant family members, which think we're all crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and I think it's important that people have choice. I don't think it's something that, like with the dietary guidelines, the way that the ones who stand for making them, that they would prefer to force other people to. It's like this this left Democrat lady agenda again. That they get some ideas that they think are good. They have no fucking idea if it works, but it's not about that. It's about their egos, and they want to force it through. And their egos are supported by money from industry, and that's fine because, of course, they're not responsible for anything, and that needs to stop. It has to stop now. And whether it's with dietary guidelines or whether it's with whatever it's about in politics and things that the ones who govern us want to use, it needs to get back on a basis which is somehow related to some common sense, some truth, and some actual facts which have not been manipulated by some of my industry compatriot CEOs. And believe me, they will manipulate it, and they do, because that's what they're paid to do.
I think that's.
I'm kind of trying to get my. I don't know what's wrong here with my. Whether it's the Russians or my system here. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Simple,
Russia and China?
Simple life wisdom or final thoughts to share, Klaus?
Yeah. Well, keep it simple. Cut out the carbs and stick with it, and be kind to yourself. That's it. Don't listen to the naysayers, and be happy. And if anyone needs help and support, let me know, and I'll do what I can.
Same here.
Yeah, I can fully vouch for that. Fully. Klaus was the first account which I came across, and 1 year later, I'm 100 pounds lighter.
I'm tripping right now.
Hang on.
Trying to.
There we go. I've muted the phone one, so now we can hear you, Klaus, I think. If you take your mic off mute, there you go.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, you're back. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I was just saying, 100% accurate. Yeah. You've been a very good mentor to myself, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the positive feedback. I think there is, we can save a lot of people, even if we can't save everybody. But and I kind of, if people are ready, if they're ready to do what they need to do, I think that's the point of Low Carb Logic. That's the point of our hero program, is to help the ones who need the help and want the help and want to improve their lives, and to support them get the same gains as we've had, or even better.
Yeah. Yeah. And the main thing is we're nothing without the community. So we are the community. Like, we're all in it together. We all want the same outcome. So we've got to be loud.
Yes, and yeah, I'm just kind of thinking. I agree completely, obviously, but I'm just kind of thinking that I'm still wondering a little bit how to do it. I've never been politically active, so other than
No.
other than working with my
No.
union representatives, but that's not really politics. But
I'm sure there's people out there that have got ideas, so that this is a plea to everybody. Please help. We're trying to do a massive movement to make some real change, and I think the timing of this is perfect, especially for the American audience, with the recent election. Hopefully, that we can help change things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the question is how do you start a grassroots movement, and how do you make it successful?
Yeah.
I guess we need some Democrats. They seem to be good at that.
Very true.
Does anyone have any
Right.
friends?
So
maybe we can get some Antifa people to join us.
Probably good.
Goody's got loads of them. Yeah.
Some of Goody's friends.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So maybe next time, or I don't know how long these guys will take for the hero hats, but I've ordered a few samples just so we can see what they look like, and we can start looking like professionals, sort of.
Yeah, I can. Then I don't have to wear my Under Armour hat.
No, the hat's sick, man. You should keep wearing it. Well, until the hero hat comes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have my Yankees hat as well, but that wasn't very popular.
No, I wouldn't wear that one.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, should we wrap up for tonight? I think we've done an hour and a bit.
Let's wrap up.
Yeah, it's been long.
I don't know. It seems to have a delay as well. Anyway, we need to. I need to sort out my system here, and I have to speak to the Russians and get them to leave the cable alone.
I gotta eat some pemmican.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Peace. Take care, and yeah, we'll be back soon here on this channel in this type of format, I think. But anyway, a little bit of experimenting, and we'll find a good working format. And anyway, if there's anyone listening, so we just published a nice video video talk with Amber O'Hearn, who is a decades-long carnivore. So she really knows what she's talking about.
1996, was it? 1998?
Yeah, I think that was when she started, and
I thought she said 1896.
Not quite.
Stupid jokes.
But what I liked about the talk with her, and in fact what I like about all her presentations and talks is very balanced view, and kind of I would say a very scientific approach or way of thinking. which I like, because it keeps any zealotry and anything like that out of it, and simply focuses on the data and the facts. And so I certainly learned a lot from having that talk, and we're hoping to have it back as well. So anyway, if anyone is watching, go and watch that. We shared it in the carnivore community and on our X channel, and it's going to be up on YouTube as well, probably tomorrow.
Mhm.
And more talks to come with various people, healthcare professionals, sports people, athletes, and normal people like the three of us and you.
That's exciting. There's lots of good things to come, and I can't remember who we were talking to where I lost my voice. I sounded ridiculous, so you'll all have to bear with us for that one.
Yeah, that was a good one as well. Okay, I think that's it for today, and see you soon.
See you soon, guys.